So what were your overall thoughts of Silent Hill?
Well, obviously, my first thought was lose Sean Bean. It really added nothing. It was just exposition as to how the town became abandoned, which ultimately isn't important with the cult stuff and with the supernatural plot going on. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that that cop was originally from there. None of that stuff's important.
Yeah.
My second My second thought was it's very funny to hear Sean Bean try an American accent.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
And it's even funnier when he goes to like an auto body shop and he's talking to this West Virginian that has like the thickest Canadian accent I've ever heard. It sounds like he's talking to Doug McKenzie.
I know, right?
That was just very funny to me. I mean, it's like this English guy from Ohio and this Canadian guy, this Northern Ontario guy from West Virginia. And I'm just like, what's going on here?
And the best part about Sean Bean, too, is because he's from Yorkshire, he's got that really thick accent. Just coming through.
But also, my third thought to focus on Sean Bean once again was, assuming we actually need this character, which we agree we don't.
Definitely not.
Why cast an actor who's best at playing, like, tough guys for a role where he essentially just walks around and talks to people?
Yeah.
Get the guy from Modern Family or something for that. Like, you don't need him.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been nice if they had an alternate version of this movie where Sean Bean was the lead. I would have liked to see that maybe. But then I also think, I don't know if it would have been as scary. I feel like it being a woman looking for her daughter, like a mother looking for her daughter, has some kind of urgency to it. Meanwhile, a rough and tough and tumble looking guy looking for his daughter, trying to hide a Yorkshire accent, isn't as scary somehow. I don't know.
This is kind of sexist, isn't it? Women are in sexist. Peril because they're weak. Is that what you're saying? All right. Well, anyways. And also, again, sorry, not letting you off the hook easy here, Sean Bean. Every single time they cut to Sean Bean, it completely ruined whatever atmosphere the movie was building. So it's not just like we don't need this is unnecessary exposition. It's distracting from not even the story. It's distracting from just the atmosphere, because this movie's not trying to be action-packed or anything like that. It's trying to build a mood. And it's doing an okay job of it, but then it gets interrupted with Sean Bean, and it kills that.
I think actually the best example of that is when Rose is being chased by Pyramid Head, and it keeps cutting to Sean Bean and Policeman driving around Silent Hill, and then going into the school. And there's a bit where Rose comes into the school and she's leaning on the lockers because she's just escaped Pyramid Head the first time. And then it cuts to Sean Bean running through the same hallway yelling Rose. I'm like, I know he's not going to find her. Why is this even here?
And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in this movie. There's some very good visuals, and I don't know how much of that is credited to the film versus the games, but I mean, the filmmakers deserve some credit because at the very least they're recreating what's in the games, because it all looks pretty good, except for some of the questionable CGI stuff we've mentioned. But at the end of the day, I don't think this story's that interesting. Woman looking for daughter for... This is a 2-hour movie, 2+ hours, which is a little long for a movie like this. But also, then the daughter is not actually a real person. She's just like a good embodiment of... Then it's just like, okay, you lost me. I don't know. I didn't hate this movie. Coming into it, I had heard mixed things. I had heard mostly bad things. Although a lot of people would say that this is one of the better video game adaptations out there on film. Of course, video game adaptations are notoriously bad. Yeah. I mean, of the video game movies I've seen, this probably is one of the better ones. I haven't seen that many. They never made a movie out of NBA Jam Tournament Edition, unfortunately. This movie's a whole lot of okay.
I agree. I think it's good at being a video game movie and paying fan service, but I think it had difficulties reaching a wider audience because it is so deep. Like, it's like neck deep in the Silent Hill franchise / universe / lore. Like, I think you needed to have played one game at least to kind of understand what was going on. And you needed to have to play the first game. Meanwhile, a movie like Lara Croft, it's a great video game adaptation, but it's not a great video game movie. Because they took that Lara Croft stuff and adapted it and gave it to the wider audience. They said, look, this is a movie based on a game, but not really. There's really nothing from the game in the movie other than an English woman and dual pistols and history. That's it. If they had
and push-up bras.
Exactly, yeah, and dive suits. If they tried to make a movie on any of the Lara Croft games, I'm sure it would have turned out in a similar way to Silent Hill. And I think Silent Hill probably missed an opportunity to go like a full horror movie. Just be kind of loosely based on Silent Hill with characters and monsters.
Yeah, that's something that I will say is I'm not intrigued by the actual story here, but I'm intrigued by the world this creates, to the point where I could see myself maybe enjoying one of the video games in this series, or I would like to see just something else kind of using some of these ideas, some other film, and based on Silent Hill Revelations' reputation, that's not the place to go.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'll also say I don't think it's a very good drive-in movie.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's a little too long, and I think it's a little too heavy and deep, maybe.
I don't think it's as heavy or deep as it's trying to be. I think it's a little pretentious in that sense, because I don't know how I can explain this in this, making this a very long episode, and we already did Frankenstein and Audition, but I don't know, because really you have I don't want to say it's a simple story, but if you strip away a lot of the decorations, you do have a simple story. It's woman looking for daughter in another dimension.
Yeah.
That's, the little girl lost, it's poltergeist, it's the things like that. It's
almost like Stranger Things Season 2, all of Season 2.
I don't know if it's that disappointing.
Oh, got him. Or Season 1. No, damn it. I meant Season 1. Is that it?
Okay,
I don't know.
Yeah. You could have a very simple story here. And I think they knew that, and that's why there's all these other details. But a lot of the other details, and I'm thinking less even the good and bad manifestations of Alessa, because that stuff's like whatever. But I'm thinking more like the cult. The cult is kind of out of left field. I know there is a cult in the games, but for the movie that introduced Pyramid Head and those creepy nurses and those armless dudes, do you really think the ultimate antagonist of this movie should just be normal people?
Yeah, I think it's a little boring. That's why I'm saying I think it could have been a great, strictly horror movie with those creatures and monsters and within the universe somehow, I guess. And I want to go back to what I said earlier about it being heavy and deep, because I agree with you. It's trying really hard, I think, to be deep and guess like emotionally deep as well. But by heavy and deep, I should have clarified. I meant it's because of this video game and these ties to religion that it feels heavy and deep. Like there's so much lore, and they want you to feel they want you to get so much more weight out of everything, and there's really just nothing there. It all just kind of is non-existent for me anyways, even though I do like the games.
Yeah, I mean, this is my personal opinion. Don't know if you'll agree with this, but if you want a solid horror movie with ties to religion, then our second movie's the movie for you. But
okay, well, we can talk about it.
But yeah, no, I mean, I guess my overall thought was this isn't really a drive-in movie. It didn't have that kind of feel to it. You have, the moment where Pyramid Head rips off the woman's skin, like that. Okay, that's cool. You have a couple little scenes. Also, one thing in this, even though I said I really like the look of this movie overall, I think that's mostly true. Because I like the effect when like everything kind of turns to ash and everything, and I love the exterior stuff. Mm-hmm. The interior stuff, when we're in the foggy industrial metal fire dimension, I just did not like that aesthetic. And it reminded me of like, I think this was just big in the mid 2000s, and I'm thinking even in the bathroom scene, which she goes in before we're in that dimension, but just they're like gross, grimy, dirty. I mean, it looked like a Saw movie, and then we find this body covered in wires, and it looks like a Saw movie. And I'm not saying this movie's ripping off Saw, because it probably comes from the games, and the games predate Saw. I'm just saying I'm not that big on that aesthetic. I just like it's intentionally unappealing to look at. I get that, but it's also unappealing to look at.
It makes you feel dirty. It makes you feel like you want to not watch that movie or that scene.
Also, I would also say that I don't think the movie's fully committed to that kind of thing. That I noticed, and this might be a nitpick, but we've made plenty of them already, so I might as well keep going, was that first scene when she goes down those stairs and she ends up in, all these fences and stuff. She has to use her Zippo lighter to navigate, which first of all, this, just looking at her, this is not a woman who would have a Zippo lighter on her, but whatever. But she's like, there's a couple moments like early on in that scene where you can't see anything except for what's illuminated by that light, and I'm like, oh, that's great. And then when those children things come at her, then she drops the lighter But then it's just like really well lit all of a sudden, and I'm like, what? No,
Yeah.
we had some atmosphere here. What are we doing?
Yeah.